So hypergamy, this is the reason for the massive divorce rate. So you can break this down, and let me just show you how it plays out in time. And this is a fraction. I mean, some people pair off early, avoid a lot of the destruction. Say you're in hookup culture, and this is a motivating factor. Like, there's lots of predispositions towards this type of behavior, like fatherless homes, tends to lead to high promiscuity. But really what it is women can revert to their base natures, even men as well, which is being hyper competitive with other women, right? And going after the same perceived high value man, whether that be high attractiveness, very high attractiveness, a very high income. It's like the top 2% of men in dating apps. Or even top 20% if we're lucky, or if it's in person. So how does this play out? These women's experience is competitive, hyper competitive, more and more competitive with other women, for less and less attention for the same man. And the same man, it really behooves you to be hyper selfish, right? Turn and burn, dine and dip. And so you're doling out a lot of rejection as well, and a lot of cheesiness, and these women are dealing with that rejection from the alpha male, as well as hyper competitiveness in between themselves. So what this happens, so the years go by, again, and then you have this social ethos of, look after your career, date around, find yourself. And so the cycle turns and turns, and this is a Chad carousel, basically. So there's like 2-month relationships, and then on to the next Chad. Eventually the question becomes, so this is like 28 through 32. There's a turning point where they want to shift. They have that kind of fear that this relationship style is unsustainable. And then you have the 80 to 95% of males that are ignored, right? The average kind of males. And that's when the kind of expectations start to focus on the super low attention males, which are anybody that's in the bottom 98% or the bottom 80%, depending on how you frame it. So what's happening? So I'll frame this as sluts versus simps. And this is the grand showdown collectively in society. And again, how else do you explain the 50% divorce rate? Of the 50%, the majority of the time the women leave. So what's happening? So there's damage from the rejection. There's damage from the hyper competitive behavior. And so now you have a series of very, very short-term relationships. You don't have long-term pair bonding. You don't have long-term chemistry. They don't even have a frame of reference for that. You have all the damage from that 10 years of competitiveness. Both men and women perceived from both sides are increasingly materialized, increasingly just a disposable commodity. So it's fast food on both sides. So 20% of men actually are getting divorced, and you'll see that top tier masculine divorce a lot. There's not a lot of monogamy at the top that they're all competing with. These guys can be devoted, but these women have developed these 14-year-old male commitment habits, right? They view men as disposable, just as these women view women as disposable. So they're starting to look at these beta bobs, right? The unattended vast majority, and they'll pair up with them at like 28 through 30, right? 32. And they'll dump them in 2 years or 10 years, because there's you spent 10 years building a certain habit of in hookup culture. Like, if you don't even have a frame of reference to shift, it's going to be difficult to quote unquote lower your expectations. When in reality, their power is being lost year over year, and their expectations are growing higher and higher. Right? They may have dated a richer Chad, a hotter Chad, etc., and all of a sudden that expectation expands. Right? They need more and more and more, and so they're now they're not mad at this guy. This guy probably did nothing wrong. He's super inexperienced compared to her. It's not that they did anything wrong. They're not living up to this Frankenchad, which is the sum total of all the partners that she had, 2030, and the amalgamation of them all. So she's comparing that cutout, which is unattainable, unrealistic in a lot of cases. Like, if you break it down, she thinks she deserves what's better. She thinks she's deserved that the combination, the best she's ever had, all combined in one person, and she settled for your ass, and now she's pissed off at it. So, and then, this guy. So there's a epidemic of sluts as much as there is an epidemic of simps. So the simps will have bad chemistry with women, or inexperienced chemistry, and you compare that and combine that with a huge unrealistic expectation, and you have just this crash and burn. They'll have kids with these guys and take out their shit. And again, 90% of the time, women with college degrees dump the man. They end things. They bail, and it is the Frankenchad, the hypothetical ideal masculine that she deserved, that she never got. This unaccountability perception, this superficiality perception, this entitlement disposition. That's why, and then you combine that on top of it, now you have a culture that promotes that behavior, and then you have a legal system that supports it, right? It's in her financial best interest to really dump the guy, right? Take his crap, take his kids, the law's in your favor, go find another one, cycle through in 2 years. The incentive for marriage is very low, and these third are virgins or have not had sex in a year. So you have these guys with moderate experience, these guys with damn near no experience. And I think that explains the 50% divorce rate. I really think it does. And why it's so feminine dominated of a decision, right? Men aren't ending it. The whole narrative that these guys are these alpha male jerks that beat their wives, maybe at the top, when they are in a lot of cases, these guys can be misogynists, but the vast majority, no, it's not the 1950s where she's leaving because he's beating her or something. It's boredom is what it is. It is boredom, because again, if the entitled princess has a disposition where she cannot control her expectations to bring them in alignment with the partner that she's chosen, that have chosen each other, and sync with him, and then she has a difficulty doing the deep sync, right? Beyond the honeymoon phase and the novelty of the new experience. If you cannot deep sync with a masculine because you didn't have a father, are you going to do that with a partner? Probably not. I mean, somebody's got to disrupt the dysfunctional cycle at some point. So, pair bonding problems because of massive unrealistic expectations, because of decades of bad habits, because of a horrible ideology, and a legal system that enables it, and a parental system that enabled it. I mean, you deserve everything. You deserve a king that is going to give you everything, etc., etc. A super coddling father in a lot of these cases, and a culture that supports the same thing. Men are worthless. You don't need a man. Blah 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 blah. So they're leaving, and basically 25% of the people have a functioning relationship and procreate with a nuclear family. So that is what it is. Good luck, kids.